expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final episode of Running Point in November. It is November 30th, the last day of the month. We're turning the calendar to December tomorrow. It is Anthony Hartwig alongside Scotty Mincher, like we are every Wednesday. And hey, look who's here. It's Gary Altizer, and it is time for Wrestling Wednesdays. Wrestling season is upon us again. Gary, we were talking off the air just how quick this off season is gone. Welcome back to wrestling.
Thanks for having me back. I had such a blast last year. It was so much fun every week coming on with you and Ty and being able to talk about, this sport that doesn't get enough exposure, if you ask me. So I'm thankful for YSN that they're trying to spread the news about the kids on the network here that wrestle, and had really a phenomenal season last year with teams like Louisville and South Range with the success that they had. It was a great time. I'm glad you guys are bringing me back. I'm looking forward to this season.
So we look at, obviously you're able to talk so eloquently about all the programs that we have on YSN, but you are a coach yourself at Wellsville, the Wellsville wrestling coach. So I want to start the first episode of Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary, with a kind of a little coach's corner and giving us a little insight on your program, what you expect out of the Tigers this year, and what you see out of your kids.
Well, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Yeah, this is my 8th season. This will be my 8th season as a head coach here. Last year I had, I believe, 12 kids on the team, and 6 were seniors. So I really, I graduated a lot of experience, but I'm pretty encouraged by the numbers this year. I have 12 again. And of those 12, about half of them are experienced. I've had kids that have wrestled in the past that have come back out. My junior high numbers are really good. It's the best junior high numbers that I've had in probably 5, 6, 7 years. So we're looking forward to the season. I've got some inexperience on the team, but I do have experienced kids that are really helping out in the room with us. I've got a couple of new coaches on the staff this year, younger guys who've been around the sport. I got Skylar Lazier. He's on my staff. He's a 4-time state placer. He did wrestle for a little bit at Notre Dame College up in Cleveland, a really nationally known Division II school. I lost my main assistant coach, Tim Sarge. He's such a great guy to have on my staff for the last 5 years, but he's moved on to other things, including being a grandfather. So he's got other things to tend to. But with these younger guys coming in the room with me, I'm excited about what we can do. I've got 3 seniors and a junior who I'm expecting really good things from. One of them being Mason Sims. He's ranked in the top 10 in Division III in 106. Ty Rambo at 132. He didn't get to wrestle last year because he had a concussion that it took a long time for him to get back to where he needed to be to wrestle. So he actually didn't get to wrestle. And talk about a kid chomping at the bit to get on the mat. He's ready to go. Then I have senior Josh Fisher and Brent Joy Hughes, both been wrestling since they started walking. They've been wrestling. So those guys mixed in with the younger guys and our good junior high numbers. I'm really hoping for a good season this year, and then really continuing to plow through this sport with good numbers. As we talked last year on many occasions, it's super hard to fill 14 weight classes. To get 14 kids out in general for a sport when you only have 50 kids per grade, boys and girls, and I have to compete with a really good basketball and a really amazing bowling program. I'm thankful that the kids continue to come out, and then I continue to have guys who want to step up and help me on the coaching staff.
Like you said, a little bit of inexperience this year on the roster, but as a coach, Is that kind of fun when you have a little bit of an experience to kind of go back to teaching the basics and fundamentals and letting letting that teacher inside of you come out instead of just saying, managing almost. You're not managing, you're teaching more than managing with these kids that are kind of new and kind of green to wrestling.
Yeah, there's definitely that's definitely fun to do that and exciting, especially if the kid really wants to learn. If they're there because they they wanted to try the sport out, they were curious about it, and they're really soaking things up. Absolutely, it's a lot of fun. I'll take any kid that wants to wrestle on the team, regardless of experience. Every year we have new kids that come out, and some of them pick it up really quick, and others you got to spend more time with. But that's what I personally like the most, is the one-on-one time with the kids in the room, and when you see a kid that's given effort and they're starting to make strides, it makes the day worth it, the practice worth it, and your time worth it. But I can't say enough about the experienced kids I have in the room really stepping up this year and helping out with these younger guys that I have, these inexperienced guys, and helping them come along. So I'm optimistic. We'll see what happens, but I'm ready to go, and I'm not sure I'm going to be sleeping much on Friday night.
I had one question for you. I was thinking about this because Foxcatcher, which is about the U.S. Olympic wrestling champions, it's one of my favorite sports movies. So this is a two-parter. One, have you seen the movie Foxcatcher? And then two, just when it comes to wrestling, you've talked about like the lack of pub it gets exposure. So what is really your favorite thing, or maybe a couple of your favorite things about it? Like, what's a really big selling point for you?
Well, first, Foxcatcher, yeah, I saw the movie. I went to the theater and saw it. There are 2 documentaries about it as well. Netflix made one, and I can't remember who made the second one, but they're all really good documentaries. The movie did a great job. I think the guys that the actors in that movie did an awesome job, and the mannerisms of the wrestlers, really getting down the behind the scenes kind of stuff that went into wrestling, especially that story. That's a story about a guy named John DuPont, and that name is exactly what you think it is. The DuPont company, they make cleaning supplies, a million of different things. He was a multi-millionaire who he invested in sports that weren't in the mainstream, sports like swimming or long distance running, and then he got into wrestling, and he started a club called Foxcatcher on his property in Pennsylvania, this ranch, this beautiful ranch, and he built facilities, brought guys in to be on his Foxcatcher team. He paid them a salary. He flew them all over the world to wrestle in these international events. And for the sport of wrestling, that there's only about, I think we talked about this a couple of times last year, probably about, I'd say 30 guys in the country who wrestle competitively and make a salary for that. So for he was probably a billionaire even 30 years ago, if not close, a billionaire, to say, hey, come live on my farm, work out and train on the farm at these facilities that I've bought. I'm going to pay you an upper middle class salary and fly you around the world to wrestle for me on this Foxcatcher team and to get you ready for the international competitions for the United States. It was something that those guys couldn't pass up. Unfortunately, John DuPont also had some mental health issues that led him to basically go senile, and he ended up killing one of the wrestlers on the team, one of the best wrestlers in the country at the time, and really one of the most successful international wrestlers we ever had. And now that guy, he lives in infamy in the wrestling communities. So that movie, it's good to hear you like that movie, because it really was well acted, and the story stayed pretty close to what actually really happened. So as far as your second question, what do I love about the sport? I don't know how much time we've got on here today, Inf, but I could spend all day talking about that. But it really, the sport teaches you so many life lessons in one. And when I say it, you're in one sport doing one thing, but man, it really teaches you about how to be self-reliant, how to be accountable, how to not rely on anyone else or blame anyone else. When you are on the mat and it's you and just one other guy, what happens out there, it's on you. I guess you could maybe blame the refs. You could maybe blame your coaches for telling you to do something that you maybe shouldn't have done. But the excuses are almost none. And to go out there and physically have to go against someone else who is physically trying to control you, put you in bad positions, and score points, to dig through that while you've spent an entire week in a hot wrestling room going at it with, a dozen other guys who are doing the same things, watching what you eat, making sure you get your homework done, making sure that you are taking care of all your responsibilities at home. And kids these days, making sure you go to work and play maybe another sport at the same time, along with, again, that's just the physical and the time parts. There's a whole host of mental hurdles that you have to overcome, believing in yourself, not having self-doubt, not second-guessing yourself. And then the emotional part, which really you want to talk about growing up early. Go out in front of a crowd of people, have another person physically control you, physically throw you around on the mat, physically beat you, have the other guy's hand raised in front of all of your peers, your friends, your family, and your classmates. You really have to learn a lot about yourself in that manner, and who you are, and how strong you really can be and need to be. You grow up quick, and I'll tell you, there was nothing in my childhood that matured me faster and prepared me more to be a grown man than wrestling.
All right, Gary, we got some preseason storylines to take care of, and I first want to talk about the kids that pop up on these preseason rankings and some of the best returning wrestlers in the YSN family that fans should really keep an eye on this year.
So yeah, I went through the rankings. Do you have some, Anthony? Anybody you want to talk about in particular?
I'm going to let you run the show.
All right, sure. So I did some research here. I went through BurrowFanohio.org or .com. I can't remember. He is the resident Ohio ranker as far as high school wrestling goes. He's done a great job. There was a guy named Mr. Brian Brakeman, who would put out a report every year on paper and mail it to each school district, and he would just have end of the season rankings. He retired because he knew that was with the internet coming, he couldn't keep up with the way information is released today. So this gentleman who runs a site called BurrowFan, he is who everybody in Ohio goes to for rankings. So I went through and looked off the top of my head who I can remember was in the YSN network that was ranked. Division I, I believe the only Division I schools, or there's a couple, Boardman, Austintown, Fitch. There might be one or two others I couldn't remember, but Austintown Fitch had 3 guys ranked in Division I. Division II, though, there was a ton of guys. There was 29 total. 6 from Canfield, 6 from Louisville, 4 from Howland, 4 from Beaver Local, and 3 from East Liverpool. And one of them in Division II, Dominic Hoffart from Louisville, was the number 1 ranked kid. He was a returning state champion there. He is ranked number 1, and I don't see how that will change much as the season goes on, unless something happens during the season. Maybe he loses to somebody who he might meet in the state tournament. In Division III, there were 18 ranked wrestlers. South Range led the way with 6. That South Range team won the state championship last year, the dual meet championship, in really crazy, exciting fashion. They have 6 guys ranked. Garrettsville Garfield, another tough school, coming up with 5, and nobody else in Division III had more than 2 than those 2 teams there. There is a number 1 ranked kid in Division III, and that is Keegan Sell from Garrettsville Garfield. Him and Hunter Andell last year were both some of the heavier weight classes in Division III, guys that we kept an eye on. Both of them were state placers, and they do have the Sell kid ranked first right now. There was a couple of other guys in each division that were ranked in the top 5, but I just kept track of the number 1 rankings. And at 190 in East Liverpool, their Williams kid, Eric Williams, he was ranked number 1 all the way up until this week, and there must have been some guys who changed weight classes that went to 190 in Division II, so he's bumped down to 4th. That's another kid I would be watching him like a hawk this year. He has the kind of skill to be able to bring home a state championship, and he didn't even wrestle last year. He was out with a broken collarbone, shoulder, something along those lines, but he's got the kind of skill. He won a junior high state championship, and the junior high state championships does not separate by division, so it is basically every single junior high kid that wanted to wrestle in a state tournament. He went to that state tournament and won that. And they do say within wrestling circles, the junior high state championship, the OAC junior high state championship, is the hardest state championship. It's the hardest tournament in the state of Ohio. So I'd be looking for Eric Williams to really make some noise.
With no separation of divisions, I can see why. I mean, you could be going up against a program that can almost handpick their wrestlers from a group of 1,000, a class of 1,000, and you could be in a school where you have maybe 100 per class. And so I can see why they say that that's the toughest championship to win.
Yeah, it's pretty predictable. You get guys there to do well; they're going to do well in high school.
You brought up South Range with six ranked players coming back from their state championship in the dual meets. What do you think are their chances to repeat?
I mean, that's a tall task to
Right.
do that for any team. I mean, with all these guys ranked, who knows? They got a roster of about 30 kids, I believe, for a Division III school. That's awesome. That means that hopefully you got at least 2 kids in each weight class. But Hunter Newell, he's a senior coming back. The Richardson kid at 144. They've got Starkey at 65. These are names that have just been around forever. Colucci at 215. Who knows? It's going to be tough because they're going to run into the guys on the other side of the state, like that Milan Edison team that they beat in the state finals. But as things move around, and they have the luxury of having guys that they could have. The Hunter Newell kid, he's at 106, but I bet he's going to wrestle 113 for most of the season. Until he gets to the sectional tournament, because they have another kid around at 106 who's probably a state qualifier, if not for the Newell kid being in that weight class. So I would say they still have a pretty good chance, but they did lose some seniors last year, including a state finalist and some other seniors that were really foundational on that team. That's not always easy to replace, but I do want to mention they have a kid at I think he's ranked at 144, 150. C. Schultz, I think is his kid's name. He's only a freshman. For him to be ranked as a freshman, I think he was ranked in the top 10. That's really saying something. So they just continue to reload. So I believe they have a good chance, but we'll see what happens.
Where do you get, where do they base the rank? If you're a freshman, how do they decide if you're ranked or not? Do they just go on what you did as a junior higher?
Yeah, so they were probably, I would imagine this kid probably did well at the junior high state tournament.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe he even won it. And then when he was probably in 7th and 6th grade, they allow 6th graders to wrestle in that junior high tournament, I believe. That he probably wrestled 8th graders that are now, juniors that he beat who have done well at the tournament. So they probably base it on that. They base it on kids who have wrestled in open tournaments or national tournaments that he's probably beat or wrestled close with. And communicating today is pretty easy. You get a coach that starts emailing these guys that do the rankings and say, hey, my kid did this, at a tournament in another state, or he's practice partners with this guy and he goes right at him. They're pretty even. And this guy was a state placer last year. They have so many factors to take in,
right.
But I'll bet money that in his junior high years, he beat some really tough kids that are now sophomores and juniors in high school who maybe even placed last year.
All right. Big coaching change in Boardman we have to talk about before we let you go. Mancini, moved on, and they have a really big name coming to Boardman from Liberty, and it's one of the most standout names in wrestling, and very very noticeable when you see it. It's one of those ones that, oh, I know him.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the Youngstown area at all, Haiti is a name that everybody knows. He's the guy knows everybody. He owns businesses in Youngstown. He was the head coach at Liberty. I got some information here for 11 years. And one thing he always did well with Liberty was his numbers. He always had kids out on the team. And I don't know if I knew that a time where he didn't have a full team. He was 137 and 43 at Liberty for his record, dual record, which is an amazing record. He takes over for Don Mancini. Don was a head coach for 21 years, 17 as a head coach alone. And in 4 years, he was a co-head coach with his brother. Mancini had 26 state qualifiers, 16 state placers, and 1 state champion. But getting Haiti on that staff, I have a feeling that they're going to do just fine. He's great at recruiting. He told me about some things that he did where he would go to a basketball game and the wrestling team would sponsor T-shirts and give every single student at the Liberty basketball games a T-shirt, Liberty basketball, wrestling on the back or something like that to get the kids excited. So with a big school like that, I expect Boardman's numbers to be really great. If he doesn't have 35 or 40 kids on the team, I'll be shocked. But taking over for Mancini, he's been there since 2001. That's a name that people in Boardman know. I believe Mr. Mancini was a Boardman graduate. He did a lot of great things. He did coach a state champion in Boardman as well. So I'm interested to see how Haiti does there. Ryan Williams will be taking over that Liberty job. Ryan was assistant of Haiti's for, I believe, the entire time he was there, if not most of the entire time that Haiti was in Liberty. There was also one other change, a big change. Rocky Laughlin at Louisville stepped down. We had him on the show last year. You know, he was a state champion coach for that Louisville team in the dual meet championships. He had 40 state qualifiers, 21 placers, 4 state champs, and 2 runners up while he was there. And Micah Coleman takes over, a guy from Minerva. So those are a couple really big changes that we're seeing in the wrestling community. So it'll be exciting to see how these guys do and how they can continue these traditions.
The Louisville Leopards, like we said before, bring back Dom Hovarth, who won the state championship last year. So a lot of reasons to be excited in Louisville, a lot of reasons to be excited in Boardman and Liberty for their wrestling program. And we can't wait for the rest of the season, Gary. We're going to have you back every week. We're going to try to get as many wrestlers and coaches on with you as possible and have some fun with Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary. Thank you so much for taking the time today and giving us kind of a preview of the season. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Hey, thanks, guys, for having me. I'm excited.
Gary Altizer joining us, our in-house wrestling guru. And Scotty, it's good to be back in the winter and be back into wrestling season.
Yeah, it is for sure. I'm really excited to be a part of this now during the season and on Wednesdays, because it's definitely like there's plenty of sports, you know, that if I could take part in, I would have, but wrestling is definitely one of those for sure. And I liked how he talked so much about when I was asking him about Foxcatcher, but he just you could tell he has plenty of experience. He's very passionate about it, and I'm happy that what we do here, this platform, we give. We're gonna be able to give wrestling its just due and give it more exposure.
Well, like I said, we're going to have a lot of fun with Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary. We're going to try to get as many coaches and wrestlers on as possible with him to have him, be in the interview too. No one can ask wrestling questions better than Gary. I mean, Gary knows exactly what to ask. So as many wrestlers and coaches as we can get on with Gary as possible. It's going to be a fun time every Wednesday from here until the end of the wrestling season. Will be Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary. Can't wait for that. Scotty, we have scores from last night to recap. The basketball scene was hopping, and it's the first night of basketball in full swing on the boys' side as the season is officially underway. And we will start with a milestone moment that happened in Louisville as the Rockets get the win over Crestview by a final score of, let me get it, hold on, 67-45. This was a Crestview team that took the Rockets down to the wire last season, 59-53. No sweat this time for the Rockets, 67-45. And Mr. Vinny Ballone, who we know so well from football, got his 1,000th career point last night against Crestview. He needed 14 coming in. He had 13 at halftime, and the first bucket of the third quarter was his. So he got it right out of the gates, right out of the locker room at halftime. And he went on to score 28 points for the Rockets in their win.
Just a little icing on the cake or cherry on top of the sundae. Not only am I going to eclipse it, I'm going to eclipse it by
double it. Double
whammy.
So he's sitting at 1,014. Scotty, as soon as he came in, I said, "Hey, your boy got 1,000. I know you're the Lowville guy."
Yeah, that's
exciting.
That's for sure. It is exciting, and you're right. We talk about Vinny Ballone so much as the football player, the quarterback, and how can you not? I mean, when he ties, he leads Lowville to arguably the best season in the history of the program. And then he ties a state record for touchdown passes. How can you not talk about him on the football field? But then it's like Hoops gets underway, and it's like, oh yeah,
1,000-point score.
This dude's pretty good at basketball too.
If he has a good season, he could get to 1,000, maybe 300 before the season's over. I think 300 points in a season, not a tall task for him. So he could climb that scoring board at Lowville basketball. 14th player in Lowville basketball, boys and girls combined, to get 1,000 points in their career. So congratulations once again to Vinny Balone. The Rockets get the win 67-45, and Vinny Balone gets that 1,000-point milestone. The first one of the season, but I'm sure we'll have many more. They tend to happen quick. I know Demi Watson is very close at Liberty, so we'll keep an eye on that as the Leopards try to bounce back from their loss on Monday to East. I think tomorrow they're in Acton, so we'll keep an eye on Demi Watson, as I know she's very close to 1,000 as well. We'll stay on the boys' side because we do have another milestone to talk about, by the way, on the girls' side. But we'll stay on the boys' side, go through the rest of these scores. Mooney gets the win. It was a tight one with Liberty. Speaking of Liberty, on the boys' side, they fought Mooney tooth and nail. 47-43. Mooney escapes with the victory on that game. Then you have East. Man, their girls mean business. Their boys mean business. 79-48. They trounce Hubbard and get the first win of the season for the Bears. You have Maplewood taking it to champion. 75-52 is final score there. Then on the hardwood for Beaver Local, they beat Columbiana 67-49. We have a score for, actually, that's we're going to save that for later because it's a milestone game. So hold the phone there. We'll go to Boardman. They get the win over Camel 61-26. And Ty, I almost called you Ty, Scotty. I apologize. I'm so used to Ty being my sidecar. I'm still not mentally past it, man.
Get with the program.
I know. Come on, slap me, Scotty. Boardman got the 61-26 win over Campbell. And this game, even though it was obviously ended in a blowout, you look at like halftime, it was pretty competitive. It was pretty close. Second half, Boardman just ran away with this game, and they win 61-26 over a Campbell team that was coming off a really, really good season, but we know they lost a lot to graduation.
Yeah, they did lose a lot, so we'll see. I mean, and sometimes it's just when you lose that much, it takes a while. But I don't think just because they get blown out open net, I don't think you write off Camel at all.
No, especially against Boardman. That's a team that's way out of their depth. I mean, Division I Boardman versus Division III Camel. I mean, that's a tough one to go up against when you're trying to replace so many people.
Yeah, and we've seen like even in football, Springfield started 0-4 after so many great runs, but then they righted the ship. So it's a long season. The great thing about basketball too is everyone gets a shot at that turn. So.
I like how you brought up the analogy to football, because if you were to kind of try to draw parallels of how much of the season has been played compared to if you were in one game of the football season. So it's like 1/10 of a football season, one game. So if you were going to go in and say, okay, 22 games in basketball, almost double that. Yeah, we've played like a half of the first football game.
Yeah.
So you're fine. If you lost the first game, like you're okay. You've played a half of football and you still have another half plus 10 weeks to go. Yeah. So you're okay.
And like you said, Boardman, not to
no, Boardman's a good team for sure. And Camel's on a draw with the success Camel had last year. They're going to draw a schedule that reflects that. So it's going to be a really tough schedule. So they're going to have to kind of bounce back and get right back on the horse for next time. Canfield, they looked really good, 71-30. They get the win over Lakeview in the season opener for the Cardinals. We have Newton Falls went up to Mineral Ridge. A lot of black and orange in the gym last night. I was in black and orange overload. Black and orange Newton Falls, black and orange Middle Ridge. It was a lot of that, a lot of black and orange color scheme. Newton Falls gets the win 75-45. Really impressed with Newton Falls. Their balance on offense. They came out, Scotty. They scored on the first 5 shots of the game. They hit the first 5 shots. They were 5 for 5 from the field. They had 3 3-pointers and a couple of 2s. And then it was like, actually they had 4 3-pointers and a 2 to go up 14-0. Their first 5 shots of the game went in. Alex Pennington, keep an eye on that name in the MVAC. He was on fire. He hit those 4 threes for Newton Falls to start the game. He finished with 19 points.
Yeah, that's an impressive night.
Mm-hmm.
Come out like you're in mid-season
They were
form.
up 14-0 before you could blink. And really, from that point on, I know this is crazy to say because you can't erase 14 points and be like, well, that doesn't count. But from that 14-point start, for most of the rest of the game until I think it is kind of weird down, Middle Ridge couldn't really bring up enough steam. But from that point, it was a pretty even game until the fourth quarter when, like I said, Middle Ridge had exuded so much energy to try to come back each and every time. They just kind of, the dams broke for Middle Ridge, and it got a little bit out of hand. But until it did, it stayed, a 14-point game. Middle Ridge cut it to 7 a couple of times. So you take that 14-point start away, it was a pretty even game. Until like I said, until the dams broke in the fourth quarter and Middle Ridge kind of ran out of energy.
Yeah,
but you got to look for the positives in a 30-point loss, and you have to look at that and say, okay, after that 14-0 start, which you can't just erase it, but you have to say if we didn't start that bad, if we came out and started the way we know how to play basketball, the rest of the game pretty even.
And that's part of the thing that makes it challenging, but is also good about basketball is that it really is a game of runs.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're gonna, so like it's really tough to come back, especially when you dig yourself a double digit hole that early, because you have to exert so much energy. But this kind of gives them some confidence that, even though it didn't go well, it was a bad loss, like we showed we were able to at least fight back and hang around. And sometimes it's good to have that adversity early on in the season, I think.
So I told you Pennington had 19 to lead Newton Falls. Mac Hayden had 17 for the Tigers, and then so they had 2 players in fairly deep double figures. Middle Ridge was led by Ian Erb, who was close to a double-double. He had 11.7 rebounds for the Rams as they look to move forward. Both teams have 2 games under their belt. Newton Falls 2-0, Middle Ridge 0-2. Next score on the docket, we have Salem going to Niles and dominating the game on offense. 78 points scored by the Quakers in a 78-64 win over the Dragons. Big win for the Quakers. Tight one down to the wire in Howland as in Poland, Howland came to town. Got the win 52-50 in a really wild game. It went back and forth. Tigers pull it out and win by 2 in Poland.
Yeah, and I remember, I know it was a long time ago. I'm dating myself here, but I remember going to games, some high school basketball games in Poland, and that's definitely not the easiest place to play. So
no, that field house down there.
Yeah, that's an impressive win.
Scotty, I would like to point out that you're only 4 years older than me. So if you're dating yourself, you're dating me too.
Yeah.
So it's let's.
I guess
Scotty's talking like he's the old hat at YS. Back in my day, we had to turn the dial on the TV. You guys get the clicker.
Yeah. That's like, because I think DJ's only like
he's 37,
4 years
38.
older than me.
So we're a young group of people here at YSM.
We are. And if you don't feel old, you're not old, right? I don't feel old. So.
I don't feel old at all, even though I can't walk. Heartland Christian gets the win, 51-45 over United. A big win for the Lions as they open their season with a victory. Another close one to talk about, Scotty. It was in Waterloo as they hold off Wyndham 59-57. A thriller in Atwater goes the way of the Vikings.
The Waterloo Vikings, I thought Super Dave, I thought he was like earlier, I thought he was colorblind.
Came in, he goes, what's the Waterloo's mascot? I said, Vikings. Why? He goes, I can't tell what this is. I think their mascot is pretty clearly a Viking, but
yeah.
Hey, to each its own.
I think so too, but
Super Dave's something special.
We gotta help Dave out.
Badger gets the victory over Latonia, 57-13. Southern gets the win over Edison, 60-49 last night as well. Those are your final scores on the boys' side. But remember, I said we had to circle back to one girls' final because we had a milestone moment on the girls' side. It was in Edgewood. Casey Kanicki, the Warriors standout, gets 1,000 career points in their win over Saint Martin de Porres. Never heard of that high school, but that's who Edgewood played last night. They get the 63-10 win, and Kanicki gets her 1,000th career point. So congratulations to her. Proud to have her on the YSN family for the first time. Edgewood, a new signee to YSN. So as we venture into their basketball program, they are 3-0 on the girls' side now with wins over South Range, St. Martin de Porres, and also, I can't even remember who they played in their second game. But they're 3-0. And Kanicki has 1,000 points now, so congratulations to her. Congratulations to Vinny Ballone also on his 1,000-point night last night. We have gone over all the finals, Scotty, and that means that it is your time to shine. I know you like to bring a topic to the table every day. We're going to get to that, and we'll get to the games that are going to be on the network tonight when we come back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet up in that top right corner. We thank them for their constant support and sponsorship of not just this show, but also all the things that we do on YSN. So thank you, Greenwood. And if you're in need of a car, head over to Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Scotty, it is your time to shine. You always bring something great to the table every week. What's on your mind today on this Wednesday?
Well, it's funny because I had a couple different ways things I was thinking about bringing to the table, but you just kind of piqued my interest a moment ago when we were talking about these milestones in basketball and in the 1,000-point scores, and it got me thinking. And I want to know, Anthony, because obviously, you know, we're wheelie buddies. We have cerebral palsy.
I like how you said cerebral.
Yeah.
Because like no one says it like that, even though that's like the cerebral part, but it's like we've somehow the English language has shortened it to cerebral.
Yeah.
Cerebral.
And yeah, do you always say, because I never
I never like and I never say cerebral palsy, like it's cerebral.
Okay.
We always shorten it. We're lazy with this English language.
Yeah.
Get back on track. I didn't mean to backtrack you.
But where I was getting at is I know I think you did some like Special Olympics in the past.
I did
like that.
Basketball and softball.
Then you do, I believe you did Challenger baseball.
Way back in the day,
Way back in the day.
Played for the Astros. Shapes.
But I wanted to know, with all these milestones on the hardwood we talked about today, I wanted to know, as a if we could live in a fun hypothetical where we were both able to play sports, I want to know if there's one milestone you could achieve in high school sports.
You're making me think today. I don't like this.
Sport, what do you think it would be?
One milestone. That's that, like, because there's something like every milestone you get is special because you know there. So I don't want to be like, oh, this milestone would mean more than me than another. I mean, oh man, there's not really like
you could throw a couple. I mean,
I'm trying to. I think, in basketball, the 1,000 points is becoming more and more consistent. But what isn't, people that can get 1,000 in two different things. We've seen a couple in the YSN. I think Danny Vuletic got 1,000 rebounds, 1,000 points. I think a couple other players. Yeah, I think a couple other players had 1,000 assists, 1,000 points as well. That would be kind of cool to be like not just 1,000 points, but then get the 1,000-point club in something else, too, whether it be assists or rebounds, because 1,000 is becoming more and more common. I don't want to say it's less impressive, but it's almost like less celebrated because it's so common. We're kind of getting used to it. We're kind of becoming numb to how difficult it is to get 1,000 points in a high school career.
Yeah, it's
so I guess 1,000 would be cool. Obviously, I'm a softball coach and I love softball, so I'll go to the diamond. I think, I know there's not like no one really cares about 100, 1,000 strikeouts. No one really keeps milestones, like even milestones in baseball, softball. It's more like you break the program record, right? But like being the home run leader for your high school in baseball, softball, I think would be really cool.
That
like the program's home run leader.
That would be a very cool.
And some of these programs have one like hard to top that number. I'll tell you.
Yeah. What
about you, Scotty? We have to turn the tables. You have to answer the tough questions too.
I think, honestly,
this guy's gonna go like water polo.
What? I don't think I would go there, although it would be. I did love swimming back in the day.
Did. Awesome.
Now I'm not as good at it, but
that's okay.
Used to be a pretty good swimmer.
You're getting old. You celebrating the birthday. You're getting a little bit old. It's okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess for me, like, and I don't even know, like, how much they keep track of this either in high school, like as far as like it just getting. I mean, I know sacks get talked about, but for me, I guess it would be like trying to become the school's like all-time
Sack leader?
Yeah.
So you want to be like an edge rusher. Like Scotty's like, let's go off the edge.
Yeah.
Let's be
For sure.
Derek Thomas. That's my homer, variety. When I think of sacks, I think of Derek Thomas, but I'm a homer to the Chiefs. I'm sure you're thinking Myles Garrett because he had a good day on Sunday.
He did have a good day, and I've been hard on Myles, but
that's the first game this year he's made an impact. So
it was definitely his best game by far.
All right, so you're going with sacks, and I'm going with multiple thousand milestone in basketball. So, that's something we like to hear from you guys too. Your comment section is open, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or the website. Make sure to comment and let us know what you guys think would be the best milestone to achieve for your personal.
And tying in the years, you said you would go multiple in basketball.
Yeah, like 1,000 assists, 1,000 points, 1,000 rebounds. That'd be cool.
Now, would you, as your second one, tied into the 1,000 points, would you rather have would you rather have 1,000 assists or 1,000 rebounds?
I'll tell you, cerebral palsy or not, I am not tall, so I would probably be more to the 1,000 assists than I would be the 1,000 rebounds. I am not 6'3", and I have no chance of being 6'3". You look at my genetics. My dad's like maybe 5'9", 5'10". My brother's 5'10". Like I breaking 6 foot would have been a miracle for my genetics. So I think I would have a much better chance of getting the 1,000 assists than 1,000 rebounds.
Yeah, I think I mean the rebounds. It'd be cool to just be that guy that's dominating on the boards. But I also I told you this I think last week or the week before, because when I was younger, I could never, when I would put shots up on our basketball hoop, I never really could reach, the hoop was too high for me and I don't have great dexterity. So
breaking out the big words.
I never really get to the reach, even hitting the rim, but I always loved throwing out the good pass and getting the assist. So I think I would go assist too.
Gina Lucente saying that she was short too. Rebounds would be great. Yeah, rebounds are, you would be, I think you'd be a little bit more you'd be proud of both. But rebounds mean you went in there and went toe to toe with other people and said, I'm going to get this rebound. I'm going to fight for it. And assists are basically you have to have good teammates too, because you can pass all you want. You can be as good of a passer as possible. If they're not finishing the play with a bucket, then you're not getting the assist.
Yeah.
So, maybe you could be a little bit more individually proud of rebounds, but a little bit more team proud of assists, because obviously if you get the 1,000 assists, you have teammates and shooters that have your back. So interesting conversation though. Interesting conversation. Good job, Scotty. Another one that popped in my head as you were talking, it'd be cool to bowl a 300. And Gary brought up the good bowling team that Wellsville has. It'd be really cool to bowl a 300.
See,
without the bumpers, Scotty.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
I was gonna say
bumpers don't count.
I was gonna say I don't think I could pull that off without the bump. I mean, but if
Scotty's got a ramp that goes right down the line, so every time he drops the ball, all he has to do is drop it, and it goes right to the strike spot. 300. He's that Limu the Emu knocking down pins in the back.
Since you brought it up, do you think it would do you think us throwing a 300 game, I'm saying without bumpers, but with one of the ramps, do you think it diminishes it?
Without bumpers, it's fine. Ramps are fine, but if we did it with the ramp and with the bumper, I think it would lose its luster a little bit.
Yeah, I think a little bit, but I still, I mean, without the bumpers and just the ramp, it'd still be pretty damn impressive.
I think you should do one of the set the bowling ball in your lap, roll the wheelchair all like full speed to stop, and let the momentum of the ball just go right out of your lap, and that's how you bowl.
Yeah.
Do like a little drift, so you slide the chair and you make the little squeaky marks on the lanes. Put little bowling shoes on your wheels.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. I stand and bowl, but I obviously can't run up to the line. But just stand there and just swing with my arms and hope that I hit something.
Yeah. Hey, maybe. I mean, you never know.
I haven't bowled in a long time. I can't remember like the highest score I've gotten. But I can never bowl with bumpers because you learn like, hey, the family doesn't want to use bumpers, so you don't get to use bumpers either. Good luck.
Yeah.
So hey, my mom was a really good bowler, believe it or not, and she had some nasty spin on her ball.
Did you remember?
She grew up bowling.
What's like her all-time high score?
I think she's definitely in the 200s. Never bowled the 300, but I want to say like in the 260s, somewhere around there. Good bowler. Her sister, my aunt, even better in her heyday. So
impressive.
Apparently I'm from a bowling family. Who knew?
Remember, it's funny we got on bowling because remember that time when Ty was, I'd be on with Ty and
you stumped him with a bowling question.
I asked him that Guppy Troop question.
I told you got to get sadistic with those questions, and you definitely did. You almost won until he dodged us on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I gained so much ground on him that he's like, I'm out. He's ducking me.
Scotty's gonna show up at Ty's work and be like, I'm getting real tired of you ducking me, man.
Yeah.
Really tired. Let's go to the games that are going to be on the network tonight. We have 6 games that'll be featured on the 6 girls games, I should say, and then 1 boys game. So 7 games total. We will start with Mineral Ridge traveling to Sebring. This is going to be a 6:00 tip-off, and Wesley Daly will have the call from Sebring for you there. 7:00 tip-off in Louisville. Boardman coming to town. Ty Bartell making the trip to the Leopard's Den to call that game. Alec Caberna will be in Mooney as Canton Central Catholic comes to Youngstown. 7:00 tip there. Niles goes to Youngstown East, and I'll tell you, Scotty, this East girls team means business. They got the win over defending district champion Liberty on Monday, and now they're fixing to go 4-1 in their first 5 games as they play Niles tonight at 7:00 at home. Ian O'Brien will be on the call. East might be the most surprising team of the year so far. They got some good mojo going on in Youngstown.
I mean, beating the defending district champions, that's about the biggest early season statement you can make.
That Liberty team not losing a lot from that district championship team either. Demi Watson's still there. Aaliyah Foster's still there. Mia Parker's still there. So that was a really impressive win for the Bears.
Yeah, and it's always great, and I hope that they keep it up. Like it's fun with expectations. Mm-hmm. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, and we'll get into it more a little bit later. But with our schools have done in football, and your alum South, like it's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but South Range has been knocking on the door.
Knocking on heaven's door.
So I think it's just been only a matter of time, and it's great when you like build a program in South Range. Really, the last, from what I could remember, going back to when I was still in high school, which is coming up on 15 years ago. But the last 15 years, I mean, I remember the one year it was 05 or 06. Our Rockets needed a win to get into the postseason.
Mhm.
It was the last game, and they played South Range, and South Range was just like, no, sir. Like,
That was 05, and it was the year that South Range went to the state semifinals.
yeah,
The
that's
first year they ever went to the state semifinals back in 05. Went again in 2017, and now they finally punched their ticket into the state championship this year. So three tries. Third time's the charm for South Range as they'll play in the state championship on Friday at 10:30. Southeast at Warren JFK at 5:30 tonight. Dom O'Brien will have the call there. Ursuline travels to Lakeview at 7 o'clock tip-off there for the girls' action. Sam, our Lakeview buddy, he'll have the call there from Lakeview. Boys' action tonight, it'll be Lake Ridge Academy at Orange. The school's huddle cam will have carried on for the Lions there as Orange looking to open the boys' half of their season.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I guess where I was getting at, it's always like expectations are great and, wanting to be the best, but it's always fun too when you could do what these girls have done and just come out and when no one's really expecting it, just surprise everybody.
When you least expected, boom.
I won't swear here on the air, but
man,
it's like
you're already wearing a provocative shirt and a beer hat. You can't be more.
Yeah,
you can't start swearing too.
Yeah, that would be.
You're pushing your luck.
That would be strike 3. But it's like in Major League when he's like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, let's give everybody a nice big poop burger.
Scotty, before we let you go, I want you to give me score predictions on our 3 state championships this weekend. Start with Canfield. What do you think the score is going to be with Canfield State Championship?
Canfield. I'm going to say Canfield takes it. I'm going to say they take it. And I'm going to say 24-17.
All right, you heard it here. Canfield beats Bloom Carroll 24-17. What about South Range versus Ironton on Friday at 10:30?
South Range. Ironton, I've been thinking about this one a lot.
Okay.
I just can't. I'm getting that Raiders fever.
Okay.
Thinking about calling a game with you. I got to go with the Raiders, and I'm gonna go 34-30.
34-30, South Range over Ironton, according to Scotty. Last but not least, Scotty, Warren JFK versus New Bremen. 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon from Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton. What do you got for the score? JFK, New Bremen, Cardinals, Eagles, Battle of the Birds.
Yeah, I'm going to go JFK.
Company man, I like it.
Yeah, gotta stick with, gotta be, have that faith. And I think it's not just faith. I really think they could do it. I'm going to say fly, Eagles, fly, 20-13.
All right, so Scotty's got 3 close games happening. Got 24-17 Canfield winning, 34-30 South Range winning, and he says 20-13 Warren JFK over New Bremen. So if one of those scores is right dead on, I might bring you something next Wednesday. I might bring you some donuts or something because that's impressive. We'll see. Scotty, good job this week. We'll see you again next Wednesday. We'll see you guys, everyone that is listening and watching today. We'll see you tomorrow from 1 to 2 on Running Point. We'll preview the state championship we'll preview the South Range game because by the time we're on the air on Friday, it could already be wrapped up. It starts at 10:30 on Friday morning. So hopefully when we come on the air on Friday with me and Ty, we can talk about a South Range state championship.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed because I'm not bummed. I mean, it's going to be great listening to it, but I told DJ, like, oh, yeah, I'm watching. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll still be in my office. So
screw the office. Just watch it on the computer in the office. Tell your boss, Jimmy, hey, I need a pass.
I think he'll let me.
Yeah, he better.
Somebody else could answer.
He better. I'll pull that Fu Manchu beard right off his face if he doesn't. Okay.
Okay. Anthony throws the gauntlet.
You got a good boss's note right there. Tell Jimmy I'm coming for him if he doesn't let you watch the South Range game. Okay. All right, that'll do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2 on Running Point, brought to you by Green